This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When off is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelOff. Check them out at propeloff.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. This episode is sponsored by Incogni. Listen, guys, I don't know about you, but I get real tired of managing the spam and cold outreach to my contact info. Those annoying emails, phone calls from unknown numbers, wasting our time and valuable attention. Not to mention the bad stuff from data breaches, which are rising every year. To top it off, data brokers out there harvest our information and sell it to people who intend to spam you and scam you. So what do we do about it? Well, I use Incogni. I signed up to use the platform, and within 30 minutes, hundreds of requests have been sent and completed, removing my data from the public view. Incogni tracks down and removes your personal data from online directories, people search sites, and commercial databases. The process is fully automated for the hundreds of known data brokers who sell our data without consent. Got a site that they don't auto-hit? No problem. There's a custom removal feature to take down almost everything that is exposed online. So take it from me and take back your personal data with Incogni. Go to incogni.com/codestory and use code CODESTORY at checkout to get 60% off annual plans. You can also find the link in the episode description. That's incogni.com/codestory, because they can't harm you if they can't find you. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. Don't settle for less when you can have more, MOR, with Paddle, your merchant of record. Eliminate the headaches of payments, grow your revenue everywhere, and focus on what you do best, building your product. Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. This episode is sponsored by Code Crafters. As an engineer myself, I know that the best way to learn how to code is to build something new. But sometimes it's hard to come up with project ideas as well as find a community of folks on the same learning path. That's where Code Crafters comes in. With Code Crafters, you can build something that actually stimulates your mind while strengthening your engineering fundamentals. And you can do so by using your favorite IDE or tools to code and build your own Git, Redis, or HTTP server in the language of your choice. Languages like Rust, C++, or Go. Code Crafters is designed to optimize your learning experience as it's designed for productivity. Sign up today and become a better, more confident programmer. Visit codestory.co/codecrafters. That's CODECRAFTERS to get started and get 40% off your upgrade. Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product, potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. This episode is sponsored by Postman. Postman is the world's leading API platform, trusted by 98% of the Fortune 500 and over 40 million developers. Tap into APIs from 18,000 plus companies to power agents that make smarter decisions. Learn more at postman.com/podcast/codestory. This message is sponsored by Melee Search. Today, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And Melee Search gives your users the experience they need with lightning-fast performance, full-text search, AI usage, and multimodal capabilities. Melee Search delivers relevant results in less than the blink of an eye. Use the promo code CODESTORY at checkout to get 2 months free at meleesearch.com. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is sponsored by NordProtect. In a world where data breaches are on the rise and identity theft is becoming more common, you have to take steps to protect yourself. NordProtect offers you everything you need to keep your identity safe, all in one easy place. It's built to help you safeguard your identity with advanced automation that works 24/7 on your behalf. Things like dark web monitoring, credit monitoring, security alerts, and more. And if the worst should occur, the platform walks alongside you for identity restoration. NordProtect plans come with financial coverage across a wide range of threats, from identity theft to online fraud and scams, so you are covered when it matters most. Get an exclusive 5% discount on NordProtect plans. Go to nordprotect.com/codestory and use the code CODESTORY at checkout. You can also find the link in the episode notes. That's nordprotect.com/codestory.
When people talk about scalability, that really scares me. It's a lot more complicated than people think. What you'll find is, and actually a lot of engineers that join say, I think we need to rework this architecture. I think this is not going to work for scalability and stuff like that. And actually, when I dig into it, this is normally parroting something that they've heard or something that they've read. I think scalability is a lot simpler in that way, and it all comes down to good observability. And it's understanding how your application is performing, having metrics on like your P95s and the CPU usage of your machines or whatever, and being on top of that and solving the problems as they come. I'm Raj Dosanjh, co-founder and CTO of Paid.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
Took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
I was
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it.
It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Raj Dosanjh is enabling a revenue engine for AI agents so you can stop leaving money on the table. Raj Dosanjh grew up in Coventry, which he calls the Detroit of the UK. He still enjoys following the football team and hopes they rejuvenate the city some. He eventually left for university and moved to London. He likes to dig into how people think and how things are built. But outside of tech, he's engaged to be married in 2026. As such, he has recently taken up physical training, which results in a lot of working out and meals filled with chicken. In the past, Raj's now co-founder reached out to him, post-shutting the doors on his prior startup. After they felt out the market to see if a billing solution would fit, they moved forward and eventually started enabling revenue streams for AI agents. This is the creation story of Paid.
The way we currently describe Paid at the moment is the revenue engine for your AI agents. And the reason that sort of is a cryptic phrase is because it does a lot, and there's a lot of the devil in the details. We plug into AI agents, understand what they are doing, show the value to the people using it, and then also make sure our customers are able to monetize their agents well, so they're not leaving anything off the table, so it's appropriate for the costs they're incurring, for the tokens they're using, and also making sure that they're properly realizing the value they're providing. How we got to that was through a fair bit of iteration. My co-founder Manny had previously founded and was the CEO of a company called Outreach, which is a unicorn based out of Seattle in the sales space. So he was moving to London because his wife really likes London, wanted to move there, and it wasn't viable for him to be the CEO of Outreach remotely. So he's then in London being chairman of Outreach and, just trying to take some time off. But a problem that he had at Outreach that he couldn't quite drop was they were launching a bunch of AI agents around like outbound email. And he wanted to price for them differently, like price per outcome, because that's the sort of value that's been created. And his team basically said it wasn't possible. It was like a large investment in terms of engineering. And he never bought that sort of idea and couldn't think about it. And then I think he went to see his friend in San Sebastian or something. And when he should have been hanging out, he was actually calling a bunch of people, validating the idea, and realized actually there was some space for a new product. He then reached out to my co-founder Manoj, who has sold a billing company to Salesforce, because I think he very quickly realized this would be solved in this sort of billing space. And then through an intro, got in touch with me. And that intro was a funny one as well. I had previously founded a company that was part of the YC Winter 24 batch, which was going pretty well. But me and my co-founder just decided that the reality of how big an investment it is to start like a startup, and we were like, we are not the team. We don't like work well enough together. So we gave the money back. And I was spending just a bunch of time hanging out. And I ended up by accident like taking a job at this other YC startup. They contacted me on LinkedIn. For some reason I said, sure, I'll talk to you guys. And I was almost being straight up like avoiding getting the jobs. I think I was asked to meet the team or do a tech test. I was like, I don't want to do the tech test, or fine, I'll meet the team, and eventually ended up working there. And I think it lasted about 3 weeks. I actually managed to create a bunch of value there, but mid-meeting, I was just like, you know what, this is not for me. I'm definitely like here for founding. But because, we had actually a pretty amicable sort of me leaving, I got an intro to Manny through the CEO of that company, and we decided to start in January. So on January 8th, we got an Airbnb for 2 weeks and built out the first version of the product, which was very much, not much more than an interactive Figma. Obviously, it was coded. I would be able to demo it by just clicking on the stuff, but it wouldn't do too much. Very much my philosophy is I don't want to build anything that I absolutely don't have to. And then we had a few breakthroughs along the way. For example, I was actually sitting on like the bullet train in Japan when I was trying to take a break, and it hit me that Datadog knows so much about what our application is doing. Why can't we take that and use that to understand the value that's been created, which will give us a great way to monetize it, but also improve retention by showing customers the value that's being created, and also give us a really easy way to understand how much generative AI providers are costing per customer, because we're in a different world where in terms of SaaS, your costs were variable, but they weren't variable straight away. You wouldn't have to scale up instance straight away. Not everything runs at capacity. But if you use a token at the moment, you are getting billed for that. So some customers are going to be more profitable than others, just because if you're a voice agent and one customer talks on the phone a lot, that's going to cost you more, and you need to potentially bill correctly for that. So these new sort of answers in this new world that we need to come up with, we're finding that we've got a pretty good formula now, and it's mainly just working very closely with our users. We can tell a story before actually building it out. We have the confidence that if that story lands, we're pretty effective at building it out. So with iteration, we've come to what we have today, which is, a billing is a large part of what we do, but actually we focus on understanding what that agent is doing well, how it's creating the most value. And I spent 5 years at Palantir, and one of the things I really took away from there was if you focus on true value, the rest will take care of itself. So it's kind of been the story so far, and it's going pretty well.
First off, I want to dive into the MVP. So that first version, maybe it's the Airbnb version where you took those 2 weeks, you built something. Tell me about that process of building the MVP, how long it took you to build, and what sort of tools you're using to bring it to life.
It was pretty much built with V0 and Cursor. So in the same vein of I don't want to put any serious effort into building anything I don't have to. I don't want to put any more effort than I have to into actually the MVP. So it will very much be Versal's V0. I give it a prompt. Put that into the code base, have Cursor potentially wire it up, and very much focusing about the flows. So when I'm thinking about what I'm building, I'm not thinking about actually the product. I'm thinking about the story that I want to tell because the product is non-existent yet. So it was very much a simple SDK, which we just had some docs. The SDK didn't really exist. We would show some signals, which is what we used for what your agent is doing. Will pop up in the UI and it shows you how to monetize that. And it didn't really take long to build. We had a bunch of calls lined up. So we would show them something, change the V0 prototype or whatever to that until we started to gain a little more confidence in actually we have something here. A lot of our assumptions were actually pretty good, so we put a little more investment into it to then find that sort of those early design partners. And once we found some design partners, we found that there were sort of new problems. We were targeting sort of startups that maybe a year or two old in the AI agent space. Like they are like so chaotic. They do not have the half an hour required to like implement some things into the code base to send like telemetry back. They are not actually that focused on realizing the value. They're more interested in like expanding so they can make it to the next round. So we started to figure out that showing the value is much more important for them and build some features around that. But I think what we really learned was working with these folks as design partners wasn't working because they had no sort of commitment. So they were like, yeah, of course we want to be your design partners. Money sounds great. It's got a great reputation. Why wouldn't we want to work with you? But then when it comes down to it, could you embed this SDK into your code base? And they're like, yeah, we're going to get around to it. Our engineers are not sure. A lot of that. So that gives me a lot of signal. So the thing that tells me is maybe our ICP is not correct. Maybe we're not like approaching this design partner thing correctly. And I think that we were treading water for a bit there while we figured that out. And there was a few things that I think got us over this hump. One was just those pure reps. Every time we had hidden a good objection, we built something in the product to address it, etc. And then the real thing was having design partners pay us. And that now puts some skin in the game their side. And it creates a really strong forcing function for us because we know that they are expecting something. They've paid us. And then we got a lot of engagement, which allowed us to iterate very quickly with them. And that is my favorite way of building because they have paid us, they are asking for it. If we're not delivering pure value, they're going to let us know. So I think that was working really well. And I think the other thing that we would do is we have a lot of events and we always want to demo something new at the event. And again, it acts as a really good forcing function. So creating these forcing functions and figuring out what sort of forcing functions work for the type of team is super important. And I think that's what got us over the hump of finding those initial early adopters and giving us something that we can really like claw into and start building on top of.
This episode is brought to you by Vention, the engineering partner you need after the MVP launch. So you built fast with Lovable. You shipped your MVP, impressed investors, and maybe even landed your first users. Now comes the hard part. Vention's AI discovery workshops are built for teams who have moved fast and now need to figure out what's actually worth scaling. Led by senior engineers and an in-house CTO, the workshop helps you pressure test your use case, catch gaps early, and build a roadmap your team can actually deliver on, with the kind of engineering support that brings peace of mind, not second guessing. Lovable got you live. Vention gets you ready to scale. Go to ventionteams.com or book your AI workshop now at ventionteams.com/codestory and go from idea to impact faster. That's ventionteams.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Fullscale. Let me guess, your team's shipping sprint velocity looks good, but you're still asking yourself, is anyone actually thinking about the why? Matt Watson's been there. He's the founder behind Vin Solutions and Stackify and now runs Fullscale with a 300-plus person dev team. And after 2 decades in the trenches, he's seen the same pattern over and over. Smart developers stuck in systems that reward ticket-taking instead of real thinking. That's why he wrote Product Driven, a playbook for tech leaders who are done babysitting developers and ready to build teams that own the outcome. If you're tired of translating every feature, doing all the thinking, or wondering why your smart team is still stuck, this is the fix. Go to productdriven.com/codestory to grab the book and get the bonus toolkit to help your team shift from output to outcomes, like 12 bold ways to get your retros out of robot mode. Again, that's productdriven.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Search. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone, and you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need Search. Search is lightning-fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open-source AI search engine is plug-and-play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. Search utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, Search delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to melisearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. As a startup, you face unique challenges to stay competitive. You and your team need to stay focused on your product, not your payments. You need to do more, MOR, and DIY less. With Paddle. Paddle is your merchant of record, becoming the seller of record for your SaaS transactions, enabling your team to focus on what's important, your product. Paddle handles all payment management across multiple gateways and methods, taking ownership of tax liability while remaining compliant with regulations across all markets. The platform handles all aspects of SaaS billing models, upgrades, add-on, trials, and more. Let's look at the results. MOR revenue optimization is built into Paddle and accounts for up to 16% higher conversion rates, reduced payment failures, localized pricing, and churn prevention, recovering 40% of cancellations. Their developer-friendly tools are API first with comprehensive documentation, removing the burden from your engineers. With Paddle as your merchant of record, you'll generate more revenue, find and keep more customers, grow faster, and stay compliant everywhere. So what are you waiting for? Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product, potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. You've got something, you've got those early adopters, you're getting that traction you're looking for, and you're ready to build on top of it. I'm curious about how you progressed and matured the product from that point. And to wrap in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is how you built your roadmap, how you went about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with paid.
So this is very much writes itself, because we would sell paid and make a promise of we can solve this problem, and that our customers don't necessarily know how to solve this problem, otherwise they wouldn't buy us. And we have a better idea, but every customer is different. So learning a lot from my time at Palantir, where the F4 deployed engineer model essentially gives you so much learning and so much insight into your customers' problems that the features figure themselves out. And we've taken this philosophy like all of the way. We don't necessarily have a real roadmap. We more so have every engineer embedded pretty tightly with customers, and not just from the implementation phase, in terms of making sure that they're using the product, seeing if they're using it the most effective way they can, how can we expand that account going forward, retention and all these sort of things. Traditionally things that we would hire for, I realized that all you're doing is constraining the bandwidth, because let's say a CSM is talking to a customer, they see why it's going well or why it's not. That will essentially make its way normally to a product manager that will then put it into tickets. And every stage of that process, you're losing information. Whereas if the engineer has seen it themselves, they have an opinion, they can essentially address it straight away and get that feedback cycle very tight. They can essentially ship something within hours of hearing the objection. Our customers love it. They know that they're going to be listened to. Our engineers love it because I think, quite frankly, I've worked with some amazing PMs, but I think there is a category of PM that essentially just does organization, puts tickets in, maybe treats very qualified, very smart engineers as like code monkeys, and they find that frustrating. And I think that removing all of this, simplifying and giving them the freedom has really meant that we're able to adapt and create value and solve our customers' problems much more effectively and much quicker than if we had like this very traditional structure. I find that as organizationally, there's so much alpha in the way that we do it, because if our competition are doing it, they're still tying up their laces while our customers are happy. And this scales really well. So if you have read the Mythical Man Month, they talk about how adding more engineers doesn't actually make a project go faster. And you definitely see as we hire engineers, the rate of progress isn't linear, but it's pretty close. So I think that we're finding this method scales really well. Engineers really like it. And also we don't shy away from the fact that we hire people that are going to be future successful founders. And the way we play it is, I say to everyone, if you guys leave paid to join another company, I have done a bad job of being a CTO, I've not created somewhere you want to work. But personally, if you guys leave to go and be a founder, that causes me a problem. But ultimately, I'm going to be incredibly proud and hope the best for you, because I think being a founder is the best thing in the world. I wouldn't want to take that away from anybody. So I think everybody should try it. Taking actually a lot of what I learned in YC and applying that is working really well. And the office is just a great place to be. I think that sometimes it's a shock for new hires. We just work with them, get them used to maybe failing here and there, maybe knowing it's not the end of the world, and freeing them up from any of that fear that they might have had before to go and build something great and keep iterating until you do.
Let's dive into that team then. How did you go about building that team? What did you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you?
This was tough as well. Initially, I wanted to hire people a similar shape to myself. 10 plus years, maybe have got solid CV behind them, been there, done that. And what we found was these people are incredibly hard to find. When you find them, to convince them to join you is very tough, very expensive. And we never successfully hired any one of them. And sometimes I would just have red flags when I would speak to them. They would use very big hammers to solve issues that potentially do make sense at Meta or Google, but doesn't make sense for a 5-person startup. Out of desperation, I put something on LinkedIn just says, anyone who wants to work with us, get to my DMs. And we found Xylin, who maybe was pretty much just out of uni, maybe a little bit of work experience, really smart guy from Kazakhstan. And we're like, okay, let's join us. And definitely was so positively surprised by his output. And technically there was some work to do, but not too much. We worked on that with him, ramped him up. And our next hire was a friend of his. And from there, we figured out the archetype. Maybe 2 to 4 or 5 years experience is really solid enough time for them to have gained an opinion, got some skills, but also potentially not have some bad habits, or bad habits they have done, we're willing to work with them. Ideally, I'm looking for something exceptional that they've done in the past, but more evidence that they actually are people that do things. Because, I don't know, I feel potentially for every hire, maybe I do 10, 15 interviews. And the amount of people, when I ask them what they're most proud of, is something around migrating to a microservices architecture or a Kubernetes install or something like that. And I'm just screaming to myself, like, you've created no value. And I think that there is a bit of culture in engineering in a lot of places where they're focused on these beautiful, like, applications are architecturally perfect, but are they creating value for their customers? And I think a lot of the time they're like, oh, we don't worry about the value. And that is a great question. Like, when that happens, it's great because they're ultimately, like, disqualified very quickly. And more so if someone has, like, actually a great example was Zylan, that hire, he was like, oh, I had some food allergies, so I built this app which allowed me to take a picture of the label and it would tell me if I'm allergic to anything. And I was like, oh my God, that is perfect. You've seen a problem, you have solved it, and you have figured out how to do that by yourself. That is what I mean when I see, they're exceptional, they have some history of doing something, and I don't quite know how to describe this, but I feel like you can just get the impression when someone is smart. So the their things, I think that's enough to show me that I can work with them and paid is the environment for them to really flourish. And we've seen this work out really well. Team is now, I want to say 12 or 13 engineers and growing. And I'm constantly surprised by how quickly new people are onboarding. In a couple of days, they have committed some code. And the reason it only takes a couple of days is because for the first couple of days, we asked them to build an agent and integrator with paid to show them the ropes. And then that's productive so quickly. So I would definitely suggest this for like anyone who's struggling with hiring, potentially lean into that.
This episode is sponsored by Search. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need Search. Search has lightning fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open source AI search engine is plug and play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. Search utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, Search delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to melisearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelOff. Check them out at propeloff.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. Let's move forward then. Let's talk about scalability. Was scale sort of considered from the beginning? I wouldn't even say like in how you built the MVP, or have there been interesting areas where you've had to fight scale as you've grown?
When people talk about scalability, that really scares me because I think that it's a lot more complicated than people think to potentially go and build a production-ready app that like scales really well. What you'll find is, and actually a lot of engineers that join say, oh, I think we need to rework this architecture. I think this is not going to work for scalability and stuff like that. And actually, when I dig into it, this is normally parroting something that they've heard or something that they've read. I think scalability is a lot simpler in that way, and it all comes down to good observability. And it's understanding how your application is performing, having metrics on like your P95s and the CPU usage of your machines or whatever, and being on top of that and solving the problems as they come. Because so many times, and in times that you potentially, places you would think that would do better, they would throw very big hammers at perceived problems. And you don't know that's going to fix it. You hear the horror stories of the app is not scaling, so they're going to migrate to Kubernetes. And I'm like, that is a huge bet. And the opportunity cost of that is huge. You don't necessarily have the skill to do this, especially when one small surgical fix, introducing like a SQL database proxy or adding a cache here and there could potentially improve your scalability a lot. The work is not always done, so then they feel like they're blind. And especially like scalability issues tend to be a little bit urgent. So it looks a little bit passive when you say we're actually going to do nothing and just wait for some metrics. But sometimes that's the best way to go, because the alternative is you're going to be doing something, but you don't know if that's going to get you closer to your goal. So I think that being disciplined about this, you'll probably have a hypothesis, do the work to test it, have some data to back it up, and then fix it. I think you can get a lot further than you potentially think. We've tackled a few of these. So we moved from EC2, a single instance, to ECS, which has some level of horizontal scaling. We've introduced some different databases, but it's never been like everything is on a fire. It's just saying, oh, we're seeing a bit of back pressure. Let's spend a few days to get on top of this. Whereas it's potentially not as satisfying. It's a bit of a boring answer. I find that it works really well. And some of the biggest apps that I've worked on, and if you take something like Palantir Foundry, that doesn't look like the perfect architecture that you potentially would think it would be for a software that costs millions and millions of dollars. It's just stuff that has been battle tested enough and had enough iteration that all of these things have been found and all of these bottlenecks have been addressed, and it just builds up over time. So that's my general thoughts on it. And I think sometimes it is a battle depending on the sort of type of engineers you have. Because fundamentally, this infra stuff can be really enjoyable to people. And I have to sometimes rewire the incentives. Okay, there's so much alpha to create. You could be building so much stuff, cool stuff, talking to customers. Focus on that. Like, I get it, infra stuff can be cool, but actually, is that going to move it forward? And I think that I'm in a really good place and so grateful to the amazing people I have on the team that actually, like, we all get it. And the culture is now becoming where almost it's building up an immune system so we can project it when we have these sort of big, heavy-handed ideas come up.
Okay, Raj, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built thus far with Paid, what are you most proud of?
The way we leaned on like open telemetry, I think, was a really smart move by us. It allows us to solve this billing problem in a way that has not been solved before. So I think that something that I really like to do is take approaches that work in areas that are potentially not what you're working on and seeing if they apply. So we started out with like a metering solution where we have an SDK and you would submit events, and we found that the person submitting the events is being pushed by a non-technical person to just do it. So they're not going to do the best job of it. They're not that interested in doing it. They're busy. And that would really halt our integrations, because fundamentally Paid needs to know what an agent is doing. Looking at something like Datadog, you're like, oh, I can see a flame graph of every sort of method and function that was called, how long it took. And there's so much information in this. And I'm not instrumenting this like bit by bit. Like, this is already done for Paid. And actually, a lot of our customers might be doing something similar. It's a concept they understand. And actually, it's a concept engineers understand. And what we're able to do is abstract the hard part to someone who cares, to someone who does care more about the revenue of the business. And then we have the additional challenge of spans and method names, and these descriptors are not very friendly to somebody who doesn't really understand that. But actually, we're at a point where an LLM AI can make that a lot simpler. And again, that's another massive green flag in my head, because we're doing something that is just about possible. This solution wouldn't have worked a few years ago, because you take some telemetry data and show it to somebody non-technical, they're like, okay, what do I do with this? But actually now we can put that into context and use natural language to create transformational queries that can then turn this sort of raw data into billable business metrics that map directly onto what their end customers are paying for. I think that was like such a huge unlock. And I'm also incredibly proud of how quickly we were able to build that by essentially focusing on the alpha. We could have gone deep and started to build a custom telemetry system, but why do that when there's an open standard out there? It helps us build the trust of engineers, and we initially proved it by using it for cost tracking. Through OpenTelemetry, we're able to understand, at least for Node.js apps, the egress that was made. So we can say, oh, there was an egress made to OpenAI at this point. We can look at the request and the response and say, hey, this customer is costing you this much because we're just able to decode that data. So we showed value exceptionally quickly, and it also proved the hypothesis that actually people are willing to do this. This does get engineers more excited, and we can present it in a way where our sort of business blocker, which was getting engineers to do the work, actually they can become our champions And I love that we address that from a product point of view, because often that's done from marketing, and we are going to invest in marketing more to developers and showing them why this is going to make their lives easier. But I think that there's something really pure about finding a product solution and actually finding a bunch of things that kind of are already out there, but repurposed for something super powerful.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
In the early days of the company, me and my co-founders didn't really know each other. And I think that there was a bit of tension in how we would build it. So one of my co-founders was very big in terms of write a spec, have someone to build it. It's potentially like low-skilled work and you can outsource that and get a lot done. And I think we burnt a bit of time during this, and eventually we learned that this was not the approach. I think the thing that I think back to is I was trying to work in a way that I don't like to work, and that's being very prescriptive. We just weren't operating as efficiently as we should have been, and that was just because I very much enjoy it when engineers that I work with take initiative. But no, they wanted a spec. It would be exactly built to that spec. And guess what? We actually didn't know what to build. So, this spec, we're just guessing. But actually, coming back to the sort of having engineers own the whole relationship, there was like, I'm talking to customers, I'm then translating that into what I see. But actually, it's a big chunk of work that someone goes away and build. They probably don't build it to the standard that we need. It's hard for me to put in the time to properly explain it and then come out and actually has it moved us forward? No, because they've done what was in the instructions. They may have done it to a different standard than needed. The instructions might have been wrong. And I feel like where I really failed is I didn't push hard enough initially to say, actually, this cannot be the way we build this company if you want me to run engineering, because I think there's an element of the term I use is founder market fit, build the business that you'll want to build. And I definitely didn't have this in my last startup. And I think that sort of organizationally, it was going away from me in this aspect as well. There was a lot of tension, and I think that I wasn't essentially being vocal enough. I think that I was trying to essentially be too people-pleasing, so didn't put my foot down hard enough. And I'm going to be honest, we probably lost a few months to this. So when we addressed that, I said, this is not going to be the way we worked. And then that was through a lot of tension, a lot of arguing with my co-founders, actually. We came to a solution that I liked, and ultimately, I think it was the right decision. And honestly, through that fighting and through these arguments and tension with co-founders, our relationship is a lot stronger. If you know someone truly, you're okay to argue with them. It's when you don't have that trust and respect necessarily, you're worried about how they're going to take it. You potentially don't have those hard conversations. So I think that when I look back to the mistakes that we made, and I'm going to honestly take the responsibility for this one. When I saw things weren't going in the direction I want or the direction that I could work most effectively, I was not quick enough to have those difficult conversations. And I think that's actually probably been the place that I've grown most in this role. A lot of the times it's been, I see something is happening in the way that I don't necessarily agree with, but potentially don't intervene enough. And then at that point, your feedback cycle is very long because you've not validated it quickly. And ultimately, time will kill most ideas and time will kill most startups. So that idea of bringing everything forward wasn't the way we were thinking about it. So I think that was probably the biggest mistake in the starting of the company. And I'm actually really glad that it happened pretty early on.
Okay, let's move forward then. Tell me what the future looks like for Paid. I would really want to hear the passion in your voice for what you've built, for the team that you're leading. Tell me what the future looks like.
My goal is that anyone who is able to build an AI agent, and actually the bar for this is becoming a lot lower, will be able to turn that fun project into a viable business using Paid. So I want Paid to create hundreds or even thousands of millionaires. And I hope that also it can act as a way to get AI into the hands of most people. And that could be our sort of intelligence, making sure it's priced correctly so that it's viable for our customers to sell it to different people who potentially would normally be priced out. And also that customers of ours are created because they see that actually I can vibe code this agent, but it's providing me a bunch of value. Why can't it provide anyone else a bunch of value? So that's my dream for where the business goes. And I think this is very important to me as well. You can see how there is potentially a future where people like you and I potentially benefit really well from AI and reap a lot of the rewards, but people are left behind. It's incredibly hard, at least in the UK, for folks to find jobs if they've studied computer science. And that's insane to me. Being a software engineer used to be such a safe career bet, even 5-6 years ago. And I'm hoping Paid can be part of the answer to this. One of the things we will start doing, and we're in the stages of planning and hoping we're going to get to do a bit of this this year, is hit up the universities talk to people about, hey, that idea or even that university project, why not make it into a business and be the catalyst for that? So that would be my sort of ultimate dream. In terms of the product, we're working towards that. We're launching our self-serve offering. We're with some early design partners now, but we're looking for a launch in like late Q1 next year. And also making the product more proactive. So I see it as like levels of AI assistance. First of all, actually, not too much AI. Now we have ways to prompt and ask questions about your customers and how it's doing and build interactive dashboards. And we're reaching level 3 where I want paid to be more proactive and say, hey, you are leaving X amount off the table. You need to actually be charging for this new functionality that your agent has started doing. And we've understood that without your engineers having to do anything, just through telemetry data. Our AI has managed to read it, understand that value has been created that wasn't before, and allow our customers to realize that value. So I think that's going to be a big theme of next year. And actually, when I've seen some experiments that we've done in the team, I'm constantly shocked at how much we can infer. We do demos every Friday where the team show off what they've done, like big or small. And we had this one demo where we took telemetry data and used a visualization part of our product called Blocks. And Blocks, which is like essentially a rendering engine that uses AI to build UIs, has taken telemetry data and been able to draw a flowchart for what the agent was doing. And we've not even designed it to do that. We're like, oh, our UI layer has actually shown understanding itself and actually has given us a diagram of what the agent is doing. Gary Tam was actually my partner in YC, and he said something that I actually thought was nonsense at the time, but is showing to be true. He said, just build it even if the AI is not necessarily there, and the AI will probably catch up. And I was like, it can't be the case. But he's been shown like time and time again, like that's going to be true. And then I also think about something that I was very fortunate in my YC batch to have a few minutes of talking to Sam Altman. And he was very intense. But when I spoke to him about this and validated it, I think this is going to be true until we reach GPT-6. And then I'm not sure. So yeah, I feel like I've heard it from pretty good authority, and I'm very much seeing this play out to be true. And yeah, I guess it is core in terms of like how paid is approaching the future. And I think that's one of the reasons we're ultimately going to win and win very big, because we're set up to realize these advances in the sort of generative models.
Let's switch to you, Raj. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why.
At the moment, my co-founder Manny is being such a positive influence for me. We work super well together, and I think that we've, over the course of this, has actually become very close. So I would go to him with something I'm thinking about, any ideas, and we bounce ideas off each other and ask him about how he approaches stuff. And actually, he's teaching me a lot about how sales works, and that's just making me better at my job. And aside from this, I've learned a lot from football managers, someone like Mourinho or Jurgen Klopp, and specifically the Arsenal manager, who's Mikel Arteta. Sorry for you guys, this will be soccer. I always thought about, why is it that a team can change manager and within a few days, their next game, they're performing much better? And when I was going into management, this was at Palantir, I was a bit lost. They maybe suffering from Peter's principle. I'm like given a team, but I don't really know what to do. But what I did know is like I was watching these documentaries on how these coaches run their teams and shaping the idea of a coach can come in, change not very much because they've only had a few days and the team starts to perform better. There's got to be so much to like the people side of this. I very much think about how they think about the psychology of their team, setting up the team and using these in tech and creating like a really good atmosphere to get the sort of most out of my team. And then gives me the ability to get out the way. It means that I'm not going to burn out because I'm trying to do everything myself. Actually, I've provided the context and the setup and then the environment and culture, which means that paid is going to be successful without me having to get stuck in with every decision. And actually, it allows me to think about other things. Other than this, I am fundamentally super interested in like politics. And I think the thing that really shapes how I do things as well, which I think is core, is I have a lot of respect for the politicians that clearly act with integrity. What you'll find is I see so much in startups that you find these startups that play incredibly short-term games, treat people that they hire as resources who they're going to burn out and recycle. First of all, that's just not how I want to win. But second of all, I just find everyone I know that plays long-term games actually does come out better. I think a lot about Obama actually and how his demeanor, how he seems to inject calm into situations, and how he speaks and can motivate people, and what could I learn from him? And here's another really random one in terms of the speaking side and the performance side of what I do, because I think that as a founder, there is like getting people behind you. Recently, in the last sort of maybe 6 to 8 months, I got really into WWE, and I actually forward through the wrestling part. But when they come and talk and get the crowd riled up, I'm like, okay, how can I take these sort of like even more fun aspects into like my day-to-day with the team? So yeah, just trying to find inspiration from anywhere that potentially isn't tech, because I understand those ideas. I've been surrounded those ideas for my whole life. What can I do differently and provide that alpha? So yeah, there's a wide bunch there.
If you're going to be jumping off the ropes, please invite me to your next town hall. I want to see that one for the WWE.
That would be amazing. One day. And it ties together with my fitness. Actually, I was watching it like a few weeks ago, and I messaged my friend. I was like, do you know, if I ever make it onto WWE, I've crushed it both physically, and I probably done enough right in my career that I've got on there. So maybe.
Okay, Raj, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world, and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I can sum up like my advice to most founders in 2 sentences. One is make something people want. So that's the YC slogan, and that is so true. But I think that something else that I've been taught that they don't talk about as much is don't give up until you've built something that people want. So yeah, just keep going until you do. You only really give up when you quit. Focus on building something people want. Talk to your customers. Know exactly what they want. Don't try to guess. If you have an idea, find out. And then just keep doing that until you've had enough rolls of the dice that you will be successful. And I think when you put it that way, there's very much know what to do. Hopefully that will show them to get used to failure. And the fact, if they've built something that it's the next big thing, the thing that I would say to them is prove it. Show me why it's the next big thing, and I'll tell you why it's probably not. Because if it's the next big thing, you would be showing me revenue numbers. Ultimately, cut out any sort of noise. People are always going to tell you that they like what you've built, that it's nice, because they want to be nice. They don't want to like crush what you've done. But ultimately, getting people to part with their cash is a gold standard to knowing that you've built something people want. So that's, just keep at that until you figure it out. And also, don't try to get too smart about it. You can try to do very clever things to get around that. But generally, I think attrition and like discipline of making sure you're validating will probably be all the advice you really need. With that, anything else you can figure out yourself.
I think that's fantastic advice. Well, Raj, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of Paid.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.